Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BrisAsia Get Your Geek On Women in Games panel hosted by Women's Z. I'm Anae Riley, and I'll be hosting the panel today. So we're focusing on women in games, especially on esports. So we have an awesome panel of women here from mixed backgrounds. So we'll be discussing esports a little bit. So we know that 40% of gamers are women, but where are they in esports? So we're going to be discussing that a bit today. My name is Anae Riley, otherwise known as Nazy. I'm a Twitch streamer. I used to work in game development and have worked across games and tech for the last few years. But I'll let everyone go down the line and introduce themselves and what they do as well.
Hi, my name's Erin. My online persona is Ezza. I do a number of things in gaming and esports. I currently manage a competitive gaming team. We've just finished a year-long contract with Order based out of Melbourne. So I was their PUBG team manager. And I also work with Nay in the women's organisation, and I'm in charge of esports and education.
Hey, I'm Jessica Chilvers. My online name is Sunny. I actually started playing Dota in 2013 while going to art school, learning to draw for commission. And then I went to university, signed up for the esports, and here I am.
Hi everyone. My name's Swinthia. I'm actually from India. I'm an international student here at UQ. So I'm a writer and I'm a gamer. I decided to combine the both and become a narrative designer. So I worked with a top mobile gaming company in India before I got here. And here I became the International Student Engagement Officer for UQU Esports. And while I'm at it, I have also played Overwatch competitively for the Australian Esports League and the Interfaculty League at UQ. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Tanil Lynch, aka Wombat Spew. I mainly play a lot of casual games just on my own time for the last 20 years or so. And I recently have started working with University Queensland Union on their high school esports program. At the moment, we're just focusing on League of Legends, running tournaments throughout the state and getting more and more kids and that involved in the scene. We're going to be hopefully rolling out a lot more games throughout the year and really bringing high schools into the esports arena.
Hi, my name's Gabrielle, aka Kira. I've been a competitive gamer for the last about 10 to 12 years, mostly FPS, all the way through from Quake, Counter-Strike, and most recently PUBG. I've represented Australia and a couple of national teams in those games. It's pretty exciting. More recently, I've done a bit of stage work and some hosting of events and things like that, so good times.
Awesome. Well, starting with Gabby, I'd love to hear how you got into video games and what kind of video games you enjoy playing now.
I guess it started really, really early on. I had an older brother. I still have an older brother. He's 4 years older than me, and I used to just play with him and his friends on the original Xbox when Halo came out. Played a hell of a lot of Halo, and I found it really funny when he got really angry when he used to beat him. And his friends would pick me to be on their team. Yeah, that was a really good time. So I just found that really fun. I guess that sort of bred the competitive nature in me, and then from there, followed him to Counter-Strike, actually, when we got PCs, luckily, as children. And made him quit that too when I got better than him. So yeah, it was that's sort of how it started, and then eventually just got better and started getting invited to tournaments and invited to sort of mixed teams and all that sort of stuff, and sort of evolved from there.
Yeah, down the line. Tanil, how did you get into gaming, and what do you play now?
I got into it when I got a PlayStation when I was 5. Started off with all your casual Spyros, Crash Bandicoots and the like, and started online gaming only about 9 years ago. I lived in the middle of the countryside with very bad internet. So Modern Warfare 2 would have had to be my first game that I got into, and I spent many hours on that. Too many. And then only recently I've just started playing a lot of Dota for the past couple of years, and having to work on that life and game balance has been really great. But that's just more of a casual thing now, and I'm looking at working with high schoolers and getting them more involved in the scene because I had no idea about it when I was their age. Yay.
All right, I think for me it was with Mortal Kombat 4. That's where I started, but I think what I really love is open world RPGs because since I'm a writer, I love lore. So games like Skyrim, Witcher, though it started with GTA San Andreas, I think, because it's such a huge game with a wonderful map, a wonderful storyline, and it's really involving. So that's how I really got into gaming. I think GTA San Andreas, after finishing it like 3 times, being a tomboy, doing it before my guy friends did it, definitely added to it. And now I play Overwatch competitively. Recently started playing Apex, but I must admit I'm not the best at it.
Same question. How'd you get into games?
So I've had my fair share of consoles. I started on the Nintendo 64 playing Banjo and Kazooie and Star Wars Pod Racing, which I always won, just letting you know. And then I switched to PS2 playing, Grand Theft Auto, Crash Bandicoot. Then I changed to PC playing Command & Conquer, playing Heroes of Might and Magic. I still love those games so much. I still play them. But I switched to really competitive gaming in 2013 when I got my first Steam account, and then I started playing more competitive games then.
I started playing back a while ago on the Sega. So my first game that I remember playing was Sonic the Hedgehog, and then I went onto the PlayStation consoles. Around when I was around 8, had a computer and started off with Doom and Duke Nukem 3D, dabbled in Counter-Strike, and now I am heavily involved in Battle Royale games. So my game of choice at the moment is PUBG. I absolutely love it. And yeah.
Awesome. We have a great mix here, but I really want to hear how you guys got into what you're doing currently. What was the process, and how'd you get into it? Starting with you, Ezra.
Because I do a number of different things in esports and gaming, the different ways I got into them. With PUBG, I help run the community, the largest oceanic PUBG community, PUBG OS, and I was involved with PUBG in the region from the start, and we created the first tournaments in the region for the game. And that opened up my eyes to my love of competitive esports. Before the organisation started getting into with picking up teams, I approached one of the leading teams in the region and I said, hey, do you guys need a manager? And then we were picked up by Order, who we were with for a year. And I am involved with the women's group because I joined it, and I absolutely love gaming and esports, and I definitely know that not enough females are in it, and I'd love to create opportunities for females. And so as soon as I found this group, I was like, I want to get involved. I want to help people get into gaming and esports and just love it like all of us do.
I forgot to mention as well, Women's is a community for women in content creation and esports across Australia and New Zealand. So that's what I founded, and that's what Ezra is talking about. Forgot to mention that. Yeah. Same question, Jess. How did you get into what you do now?
So I'm actually president of the VGS club here at UQ as well. The way I got involved in that is way back I used to just show up to the tournaments, get involved. I donated artwork for whatever gaming tournaments they were having, and then I just applied for a position and I got my presidency that way. How I got involved in esports was the same thing. It was just opening up. I kept volunteering my time, helping Tim out, and eventually positions started opening up. I applied and I was really surprised when I got in. So yeah.
Okay, since I'm from India, we don't really have the entire scene of esports over there yet. Is my mic working? Okay. So the Esports Federation of India is actually not a legit thing, and it's really badly organized. And in fact, at one point, the qualifiers for the Asian Games held in Jakarta, they were supposed to have a qualifiers match which was only told about, say, about a day in advance. So it's really badly organized. And back in India, I couldn't really do anything about it. But I came here 8 months ago, and that's where I first got involved in esports, because the University of Queensland has the Esports Society, and the moment I found out about it, I was like, okay, I want to be a part of this. So I went ahead and I signed up, and they were really happy to have me. And now I've become the International Student Engagement Officer.
I guess I'm quite new to the scene. I was originally just a massive fan of lots of different tournaments. I worked last year in Indonesia and managed to go to the GCSE, Dota 2 minor, and a number of pop-up games, CSGO games in the area, meet a lot of the local community, and make some connections there. And when I got back that's when I really started to see the spark in it. And when I got back to Australia and I was finishing off a master's and looking at where I could go next and how I could even apply my master's in my next job of cybersecurity, which I'm not really using at all now, but I started to see how esports events and that were going to be growing definitely in popularity, and they would have a lot more industry and money behind them. And I saw this job pop up. I met Chris Smith, who is the director of business and games esports. He's down in Melbourne, and started having conversation to him about my ideas about getting high school kids involved. And I just met a lot of different people through him, and then I met Tim, and I went for a position here and managed to get it. So it was just great timing and communication and network.
My gaming career has probably taken a bit of a backseat to my actual career at the moment. But I play in the odd tournament every now and then when the CS tournaments do come to Brisbane, or even PUBG. I've recently gone over to China for that. That was a bit of a fluke. And yeah, not a whole lot going on in gaming at the moment. I do Twitch stream when I do get the chance, but...
Well, I guess segue into that. I guess what is the current landscape for like women in esports? Like, what barriers do you think there currently is?
At the moment, it's actually pretty good. It's probably the best it's ever been. Personally, sort of being in the scene for quite some time, we never had the opportunities, I guess, that have come up now. So female-only tournaments and things like that, just to introduce women to the scene without it being sort of super intimidating and that sort of thing can be hard. So that's good. I've only ever really mostly played in mixed tournaments, so I never had that opportunity. And it would have been nice to have that introduction into gaming instead of sort of getting a bit of a trial by fire. But I really have enjoyed it the entire time and made the most of it.
And I guess while I have you, what would you recommend for anyone who wants to get into competitive gaming? Like, where's a good place to start? Or, like, what's the way to upskill or approach orgs? Like, what advice do you have?
I suppose just practice. Yeah, it really is all just about practice, and I suppose keeping the continuity. Like, if you've got a team, keeping the same people and getting to know sort of people that suit your game style and your gameplay and stuff like that. I wouldn't really sort of focus too much on the orgs. If you're a good player, you'll get noticed and you'll get picked up. If you've got a good attitude, a lot of the time that makes a big difference as well.
Yeah, and Tennille, I guess same question. Like, what do you think of the current landscape for women in esports, and yeah, what barriers do you think there are potentially?
I guess it's an uprising industry that, like she said, is probably better than it's ever been, and it's going to continue to get better. Most of it is just encouraging young girls who see figures like yourself in the esports industry to start getting involved in it. That's the problem with a lot of different industries, such as the military, for example. Not many females were in the military back in the day. It wouldn't encourage new members to sign up, but they started to push for it. They got more girls involved, and now you get really high really high sign-up rate. So the same thing with gaming. I think it's just only going to increase and improve.
Yeah, India, same question.
For me, it's been overwhelmingly positive, actually. Even back in India, where you don't see a lot of female gamers. It's 32% of gamers in India are female, which is much lower a gender ratio compared to, say, the Western countries. But each time you'd, say, speak on the voice chat with these guys and they hear that you're a girl, they'd never be like, oh my gosh, you're a girl, you don't belong over here. No, they'd be like, wow, you're a girl, that's amazing, you know, like, where are you from, what do you do, how'd you get into this? So it's been really nice, and this is a bit of a controversial opinion maybe, but I feel like attraction that comes about with women being there and they go like, oh my God, it's a girl. I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, when you have an anonymous figure in your head and you form all sorts of imaginations like, oh, this girl's going to be like beautiful or whatever it is, I think that's totally positive. The problem is when you start stereotyping women as you're either bad at gaming if you're good looking, or you're, the Twitch S word that gets thrown around so much. I remember I told a friend of mine I wanted to start streaming, and he said, oh, you want to be one of those Twitch, the bad word. And so that needs to go away. But other than that, it's been pretty great.
What about women wanting to get into competitive gaming? Because you've done that a little bit.
I feel like you have to be a go-getter. You want to do something, you go ahead and you sign up. I knew about the opportunities available. I keep Googling them. And of course, when I got involved with the university esports, they post about it on Facebook. So you have to go out there and you have to stop thinking that I'm not good enough. I'm not like a master level Overwatch player. I'm not. But I know that I've got enough mentors out there, and I'm only getting better.
Awesome. Yeah, same question, Jess. Like, do you think there's any barriers for women in the industry currently?
When I started playing Dota in the beginning, there was quite a big barrier for me because I was never taken seriously. It was all like, the trolls would come at me, say I'm stupid, or, game's basically over, or I'd have trolls being like, oh, what's your Snapchat? And I want to, just bad stuff. But you look at the progression from then to now, and I think we've come a long way. I'm very happy with how it is now, and I mean, there's always things that we can improve in, but we should really be focusing on the positives,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And Ezra, same thing. What do you think about the current landscape for women?
I think I'm agreeing with everyone else up here. It's significantly improved. There are a lot of things that I'd love to see improved.
We can talk about that. That's my next question. So,
well, I think it's about a culture shift because I've played games in a number of different regions, and there's a different attitude towards female players. So in China, if there's a female gamer or woman in esports, they are pretty much like praised, because it could be something to do with the one-child rule in China. So there's more men than females, but they've got the attitude where if they find a female in game, they're like, oh my gosh, you're a goddess. I've played PUBG in the Southeast Asian region, and whenever I've spoken in game, I haven't been heckled. I've been like, oh, female, do you want to be friends? And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And they're all really lovely people, whereas I'm sorry to say, but in this Australian New Zealand region, whenever I've spoken in game, most of the time I'm like, get back to the kitchen. Why are you playing on your boyfriend's account? Or they leave the game because they don't want to play with a female. So it's really about a culture shift, and I think that's a barrier for people to get into it. Like, I've only recently started playing CSGO competitively again, and I unintentionally spoke in-game because my push-to-talk button on Discord was the same as in-game, and as soon as my teammates knew that I was female, they were abusing me in voice and text. They were running in front of my bullets so that I'd team kill them and then I'd get kicked from the game, or they were boxing me into corners, and that's just... Because of my experience in gaming, I've been gaming as long as I remember. I'm pretty sure I've got a thick skin, but anyone who wants to get into gaming, if this is their first experience, they'll be like, what's the point? Why would I want to go and do this if I instantly get ridiculed? And so I think that's one of the major barriers at the moment.
Well, I guess, like, how can we turn those barriers around? Like, how can we as, like, everyone, improve the industry for women in esports? Like, should we be making women-only tournaments? Like, is that the answer? Like, what can we be doing to improving, like, getting more women into esports?
I think as an individual is just treat anyone online as if it was your brother or your sister or your mum or your dad, because you really don't know who it is online. And if you yourself are saying someone like, oh, you should get off the internet because you're really bad at this game, just be like, well, what if my little brother said that to them? someone said that to your little brother. It's kind of like understanding what your actions are doing to other people. In regards to the female leagues, I think that at the moment, if you go to any esports tournament, majority of players are men in their under 30, and a lot of the people viewing it are in the same demographic because they are there to view the people who are competing. One of the things that I'm supportive of female leagues because it gives females the opportunity to aspire to the people that are competing, whether online or in person. And there's the old quote, well, the old saying, you have strength in numbers. So if you have a group of females in the same room, it's like having the same passion for something, that's just going to be really like inspirational for others to see that there's actually people out there who they could relate to.
Yeah, awesome. What was the question? What can we be doing to improve women in esports? Should we be making female tournaments, or what else can we be doing to encourage more women?
Well, I'm actually pro women league and mixed league, just because I feel like with gender-only leagues, it's good to mingle and get to know everyone that you're comfortable with. I'd be interested in meeting a few girls that play the same games I do, but I'm also interested in mixed as well, because when I first started playing Dota, the international thing was quite a inspiring thing for me, and I was always interested to see if any girls could get into it. And so I would like to see that in the future, more women being able to pursue big tournaments like that in Dota and CSGO and Overwatch as well. So, I mainly just say, don't put up barriers for yourself, but at the same time, just have fun, really.
My view's a bit contrasting, I think. I don't really believe in... I don't think we need to have a women's league. I think we just need more women in mixed matches. That's what I think. Because talking about it biologically, I mean, if it was something like wrestling, I would understand. Women and men are made differently. A guy cannot wrestle a woman because of the obvious physical differences. But with gaming, I mean, my mum is an amazing rifle shooter. So in my video game aiming skills definitely come from my mum. I think men and women can play just the same. And when you have a reservation, from what I have seen even in my own country, it just creates more differences. I think we should just all play together.
I would have to agree with that for sure. There's nothing wrong with somebody wanting to create a women's team. I think that's great if you want to get other women on board. But if you want to make it to something like the international, you need to make it there on merit. And it's not just about getting a spot just because you're a female. That creates more segregation. And I've seen that in not just the gaming industry, but other industries too that I've worked in, where sometimes women are given a leg up for all the right intentions, but it creates the wrong message that then some guys miss out who are possibly more worthy of the position in terms of skill or experience. To help improve women in gaming, it's just stuff like this, just having an open conversation about it. And if you yourself are on a team and somebody's being toxic towards a female player, don't just sit back and ignore it, actually stick up for them. I've had cases where one person has said something to me playing online, and then 3 of my teammates are like, whoa, what's that all about? And then they stop because they notice that they're the outnumbered one here. So I think it'll take time, and it's good to have this conversation.
I think there are really good points in terms of the segregation sort of points, so making sure that you aren't actually segregating the parties, because unfortunately, even if you do run female-only tournaments and things like that, you are sort of splitting the skill pool, I suppose, so you don't have the opportunity to learn from players that may be better or outside of that skill pool, so it can be quite limiting. So you can look at it from the opposite perspective as well, where it actually might do more harm than good. I can also sort of make the argument for women-only tournaments as well, so it's a really difficult position to be in, because I have been in that situation where at 14, 15, 16, telling my mum, I want to go to a LAN, I've been invited, or I've been told that I'm in the top of 10 teams in Australia, but I can't go because my parents don't feel comfortable with going to a LAN with a bunch of men under the age of 30. So that's sort of a contrast in terms of those events. It can be quite jarring because you want to be involved and you want to do the right thing, but also if it was a female-only tournament, I don't think she would have had that problem. So getting people involved at a younger age and getting sort of the next generation involved, sometimes you hit barriers in that respect as well because it's just a socially
that's a good point.
not acceptable thing or not expected. And I was very fortunate that my brother was like, well, I'm 18, I'll go. And so I was able to attend those tournaments. But, yeah, it can be a bit of a barrier.
All right. Yeah, go for it.
I just wanted to say that I'm not saying that I think women's only leagues are the only ones that should be out there. I think that female leagues and all the other leagues can be tied in together. What I wanted to try and clarify was that I think that a women's only league would be able to provide more opportunities to female players to get the experience that they may not be able to get. And it would be able to, they'd be able to do it in like a welcoming, safer environment than going and playing in a different league. Because if as soon as a girl is in a team and you see in Twitch chat, they're like, oh, girl gamer. And unfortunately, the comments in these chats do affect people. So by creating other opportunities for these females to have this competitive experience in a welcoming and safe environment, it would kind of like be a stepping stone into going into the serious, the semi-professional and the professional tournaments, and be like a bridging gap to get on the pathway into esports.
Awesome. So yeah, a question for Gabby, like a 2-in-1 question. I guess what's been your favorite thing about your career so far, like the industry, and yeah, what advice do you have for people wanting to get into esports or competitive gaming? Kind of already covered it, but just like words of wisdom. Yeah.
I think I've made some of my longest lifetime friends playing games, even sort of casually, competitively. I think last year, one of my friends I used to play MMOs with for like 12 years came to Australia, and I met them for the first time in like 12 years. It was pretty awesome. And so just lifelong friends, like it really is one of those things where you can take it anywhere and you get to grow with people as you sort of go through that experience. In terms of competitive, it's taken me to places that I never really thought were possible, being able to travel overseas and play for competitive teams and play domestically in Australia and have all of those things paid for, and it's a very exciting time. And also just, dealing with the organisations and the sponsorships. It's actually given me a really good platform in my actual career to be able to say, well, I have actually negotiated contracts, I've done all these things, or it's been quite a good experience for me personally.
Any words of wisdom for anyone out there?
Not really. Just do your best and practice if you want to be better, and if you want to be involved, be involved. Don't let anything sort of intimidate you or scare you or convince you that you can't do it, because you can always give it a go, and the worst thing that happens is it doesn't work out and you try again.
Yeah. Cool. And Tanil, same thing. What's been the best thing about your career so far? And any advice for anyone wanting to get into esports?
Definitely the people that I've met. So your lovely ladies yourself and all the people on the team here at University Queensland and the Union, and online friends. I've met probably 60 to 70% of all the friends I've made online throughout the country. And it's opened up a lot of doors. Words of wisdom of getting into the industry, it's definitely about networking and coming up with something. What can you offer the industry? What is it unique within yourself that you can put forward to help this grow in Australia and also the world? So start brainstorming and start working on ideas, and don't just put your hand up and say, I want to work in esports. You need to be like, I'm going to be working in esports because I have this to offer the industry. That's what you need to put forward.
Yeah, same thing. What's been your favourite thing about the industry, and words of wisdom?
I think for me, because it's been such a positive experience, everything about it has been great. And I have a crew of Overwatch. I have multiple crews online, so I've made a lot of friends as well. And I feel like we have to, as women, we need to break the barriers. I mean, last year, Overwatch Shanghai Dragons hired the first ever female coach in professional esports, which I think is absolutely amazing. So if you know that you're good at something, just work towards it and go forth and get it.
Jess, same question.
So
So yeah, what's been your favorite thing about working in games so far?
Trying to think. I'm just mind boggled because there are literally so much positive things that have happened just from me involving myself in esports, like my amazing team at UQ and all my amazing friends online that, you know, I've made a majority of my friends just from meeting them in Dota. And yeah, like if you just keep trying your best and keep playing and you don't listen to the trolls and everything like that, and you believe that you do have something to offer, and, you know, even if you can draw things and just cooperate with tournaments or just events that are going on, volunteering at Supernova and things like that, you are actually involving yourself in esports, and like I don't regret anything.
Probably my most fondest part of my career was when my team competed in Thailand in a $50,000 tournament last November and won it. That was probably the highlight so far. But as well as that, the friends that I've met all around the world, I can go to a number of the major cities now and go out for coffee or catch up with people that I've met online through esports. And words of advice for anyone is, if it's something that you're passionate about, or if it's something you enjoy, then keep following it. And don't be deterred by a minority of people online who would say otherwise, because there's a lot more positivity in the scene than the small amount of vocal people that would create a bad experience for you. And there are a number of inspirational women within the industry, both in Australia, New Zealand and internationally, that I know you can contact to see how you can get involved. That's not just for women. I know that everyone I've actually met has been really supportive of anyone getting into the industry. So if you want to get involved, just contact someone who you either inspire or would like to chat to, and they will happily help you get into it or give you advice or point you in the right direction.
Awesome. I don't know how much time we have left, but does anyone else have anything to add? Anything else? Okay. Was there anyone in the audience that had any questions? Maybe. We'll be around for a little bit after this. But we might call it there, I think. Yep. So thank you for being a part of the Women in Games panel. They're hosted by Women. So again, Women's is a community for women in content creation and esports. So if you're taking part, like you're a Twitch streamer, or if you're like trying to get into competitive gaming, we have a community. You can find us on Twitter and apply if you want to come join our lovely community. We're trying to do more events and tournaments and stuff like that. So you can come join us there. And I don't know, follow these people on Twitter. I don't know if you want to shout yourselves out, but yeah, thank you very much for being a part of this panel. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.